Hello, today I am doing part 2 of Putin, and I've done it earlier and I posted it. And to my horror, I found that the actual chart that I was talking about didn't actually post. So you can see me talking. And so I just went ahead and removed it. So if you notice that, it is because I would just prefer to keep it professional if I can. And I tried to figure out how to post the chart in video, and there's just so much I need to learn. And I have a couple of people that are going to end up working with me that will help me with my podcasting, which one would be my niece, who is quite extraordinary at videography. So she is like my number one, oh my goodness, yes, choice. So where we were at is we were talking about Putin, and in our last podcast, we were 45 minutes in roughly, and I went ahead and stopped because there's so much to say about what's happening in his chart with 8 points in air, which coincidentally the USA chart has 10 points in air. And for a good while, I was saying things to my husband that this was becoming the United States of Putin. What does Putin have in common with us in the United States? Not to say that he doesn't have a lot in common with us, he's human. And I'm not really a divisionary person, and nor do I go for the Cold War talk and behavior and communist Nazi blah blah blah. I just don't think it's appropriate. I think it derails us in a lot of ways. I think that we end up focusing on the wrong things, and I think that that's by design. They want us to focus on being interested in war. It makes the few people that have the money wealthy. Now, I'm going to talk about why this might be occurring. We have currently 6 people who own the media in the United States. 6. The number 6 being family. Putin having more of a chart that suggests that he's not a humanitarian, and he is, but he's kind of what we would think of as a kind of maybe dark humanitarian. And we in the United States were founded upon what we thought was, we've been tortured and we left Europe, we come to the United States for some Puritan ideals. And what does Putin do now that creates a crossover of ideals for us in the United States? Well, he creates this white, Puritan, religious, strongman persona. And as I said, I used to tell my husband I felt like we were now living in the United States of Putin, because it seemed like everything that was going on that was of any importance had to go through Putin, and all roads led to Rome, that he needed to be consulted. And so I was never really comfortable that Trump was in charge. And so I don't know whether he was or wasn't, and I'm not making this about politics because I'm not a politician. I dislike politicians. I dislike being lied to. I dislike being treated like I'm dumb and like they like to do. And what's happening to us? Well, we're told what they want us to hear. And there were some things that happened back in 2016 that were rather important. We had a president whom was Black. And what occurred afterwards by Trump being put in office is called blowback. There was an effort on the part of these organized billionaires to say, no. We have to stop all this. This noise has to stop. We have to go with something that's familiar. Now, whether it was racial in its essence is a whole nother matter. And probably, and when you really get down to it, it's probably not the reason it's happening. But by making it a racial issue, you polarize, you gravitize, you create awareness, and you create it quickly, because all of us are just so over the whole concept of how we treat others, right? And we'd like to think of ourselves as willing to promote and be a part of and support gay marriage, for instance, people's rights sexually, people's right to abortion, all of these things we want to support. But we're finding that we live in a society right now that a good number of white people feel called to stand up for themselves. Stand up for yourself for what? Or is it because we're losing our ability to have all the authority and control Saturn? Yes, that's it. It's moral. People, I had someone say to me, I was very upset by this. They told me, because I had a position about the children at the border, that I didn't care why they were there. I didn't care who brought them in. I didn't care what the problems were. A child in a cage at a border being withheld from their loved ones, to me, was something that as a tax-paying citizen, I feel was intolerable. And I heard from a school teacher / devout Christian who told me she was very religious, very devout. So I don't want this to be about school teachers, and I don't want it to be about religion, because each of us are individuals and we do things according to our own individual motivations. So we can't really say for sure what one person says is equal to what all people say. When you say that, that tells me that you're suffering from ignorance beyond words. But what it does tell me is that a number of people feel the way she does. And I've heard other people say it. So it sort of rings to me that there's something happening here that's kind of troubling. And what she said to me was this, is if you bring a child over, you committed a crime, and therefore punishment needs to take place. But it's a child. Well, they should have known that when they brought the child here. And God doesn't want people disobeying laws. Whose laws? Whose laws are we disobeying? What law? Are you aware that this used to be Mexico, where they're coming in the border? And for several states out, this used to be Mexico. That we purchased it for a rather low fee. But mind you, never mind. I'm not really here to argue that kind of thing. I'm saying that we're equal. In God's eyes, we're all equal. We're all beautiful flowers that grow here and grow there. And sometimes tropical flowers move in and make all of us more beautiful as a result. So personally, I have a lot of issues with this kind of behavior, right? This is my country. I need a wall. I need to protect myself. I need to cut you off. I need to make sure you don't come in. This is very reminiscent of the Holocaust, where we objectify and treat others as others, where we say, you're not okay. And at what point is you're not okay bleed over into you're not able to stay? Because, well, I've decided you can't stay. I don't feel good about you anymore. I don't want you here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the share screen mode, and hopefully this works this time. That was really disturbing to me that I did the whole podcast and get to the end and find out that what I did didn't work. So what I brought you today is a kind of a special chart in this sense. I am working on a process called Synastry, where I'm looking for the similarities in charts and behaviors and thoughts and ideas that in the long run lead me back to concluding, okay, these people have some things in common. Okay, so what might we be looking for in these two charts? Well, for one thing, I can see right off the bat is they both have a shadow in Leo, where in the 12th house, where both Putin and Trump. So this might be why they kind of had this energy where it seemed like they were working together. And I suspect they were. I believe that they're much like husband and wife or something. I think I think where you're going to see the connections is in Pluto. Pluto is our shadow. Pluto is 22 degrees in Putin's chart, where Putin is suffering from really terrible loss right now. And if he survives this terrible loss, I would be quite frankly surprised. He has Saturn opposition Pluto coming up, where it is saying, you know, what you've worked on, who you are, your career, your way forward, your way of thinking is stop. It's a no-go zone. You've been doing this for 14 years and we're all kind of just going, no, this isn't going to work. So something about his energy, his behavior, things that he's brought forward that he subconsciously wants brought back to a more balanced place. So Putin is getting ready, and you can see 22 degrees. So that all by itself tells me it's a crisis in Leo, where he's going to really have issues with how things play out. He's not going to have a choice. And Trump, having Mars in Leo, really loving that dark energy that Putin is so seeming to be famous for, his KGB-ness, that manly madness, you know, there's almost this man envy going on here, you know, so the two of them. So you've got, Trump has moon in Sag. Putin has moon in Gemini. So one takes care of the religion and the other holds down the information, and they, you know, and make sure that that it's all done according to some process. That, and for Trump, that would be a process from a career perspective. So as you can see, you could go back and forth, and you're going to find some things about why these two seem to have such a connected relationship and understanding, where Putin has Uranus in Cancer, where he looks to revolutionize the world stage. He wishes to make that his own, his family, his group, his inheritance. Trump has Saturn in Cancer, where he's looking to make us look to him and Putin as our leaders, as joint leaders. And to Trump, he sees this as beautiful. He sees this as the ideal governmental setup, where we no longer have a democracy. I think it's called an autocracy. Not exactly sure. I'm an independent voter. I don't vote. I don't vote according to some pressure. I vote according to my conscience. And honestly, anybody they've put up there for president of late, I don't understand why they're doing it to us. I don't, but I do know. I actually do. They want us to be in despair because they want us to recognize, oh, there's no other way. It's got to be this way. It's got to be this great white train of superiority, authority. We need to stick with our white fathers to keep everything straight. They don't want us to change that. And it's rather pig-headed. Well, do note that for Libra, where Putin has his sun in Libra, he is Libra, and he views what he does in a career having something to do with having contracts with people like you and I, where he wants to come in and say, yeah, I want to make this all work for you and I. And So was there an effort to make Putin a world leader? I don't know, but it sure has a funky smell to it for sure. So, and what is Trump get in Libra? Well, he gets Neptune, where he's coming to dissolve what we think of as partnership and family. And he's not really for the traditional partnership and family, and I think we have plenty of information to suggest that's true. He has many times where he's been, as you can see, Jupiter in Libra, where he's expanded and had lots of affairs. So no Jesus here. And I'm just going to tell you, I was a big time churchgoer, 16, 17, very involved, was in a choir, was sexually assaulted in the church by one of the church leaders. Went to the church minister who told me, the head of the church, he told me that I would be suffering from cancer for my very horrible lady whore ways. So I want to say to you that, you know, my trust for the organized system is not very good, and it won't ever be, because why would I ever trust that? I'm not up for that. I'm not here for that, but nonetheless, it's occurred. So again, there's these things that are happening. So Putin has Mars in Sagittarius in the 4th house, or in the house of family, where he looks to expand his viewpoints on what the homeland is. Again, expansion. Trump has Moon in Sagittarius, where he looks to be receptive to taking the homeland, or all land, and calling it the foreign leaders, Putin's, to manage. So there's some real interesting synastry going back and forth within this chart. Putin wants to expand in Taurus the way we see our lives and how we go about living them and paying for them. So this has been a really dangerous political cycle that we've been in, and it's far from over, because I mean, I think that we have very clearly got some white man rage going on here, and where they want to make sure that they're not being removed from the table. And you know, the chances of the white man in general being removed from the table was low to begin with. So I think that they've increased their possibilities of being removed from the table due to these behaviors, but who knows? You know, for me, I can see it pretty clearly that this is some real funky behavior that needs a lot of legal involvement to resolve. So with that, I'm going to conclude this video, and I thank you very much for joining me here today. And I'm very tempted to bring you an additional chart next week, which would be D'Souza and Trump. And I want to maybe talk about the movie 2000 Mules, where they're saying that this election that was not found to have any fraud was stolen. So I want to just kind of look at that and see what it is I see. And with that, I thank you very much for joining me here today. And please do hit the like, share, and subscribe. And if you need a reading from me, please do contact me. I'm available on Twiggy, www.twiggy.com, and also on Facebook, Twiggy by Design. And my actual times I'm going to be providing these readings are going to be highly limited, so don't be shocked at my prices. I provide 5 a week. So with that, I thank you very much. Again, like, share, and subscribe.